Welcome back, crew. Today we are wrapping up our February game of the month, Monty Python's Co-Curricular Medieval Reenactment program. Not certainly not a TTRPG, but it's crazy we're wrapping it up as soon as I finally gotten that down pat with the long name there. But today, if you're new to the channel, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing the system, highlighting who this system's for, something new that I've been doing this year with our reviews, kind of highlighting the type of player that'd be a good fit for it. Then we're going to dive into our roses, things we liked about the system, buds, things we're excited for the system in the future, and then thorns, things that just may not have clicked with me in the system. So with that, especially if you're new to the channel too, this is at the end of the month after we kind of dedicated all of February to everything Monty Python, going over our first impressions of the system, how to build a character utilizing the system's rules, highlighting the core mechanics and everything you need to know to bring the game to the table. And this one, we had a really fun one, and a big shout out to the creator, Brian, because we actually got to have Brian, Game Master, Head of Light Entertainment for Monty Python lore, the system for us on this one, showing us everything about it and running one of the systems, one of the adventures from the books too. So it was just really cool to get that experience. It's our first time having a creator-led game of the month game. So big shout outs to Brian for doing that for us. Yeah, let's dive in. Yeah, so first we're going to hit kind of who I think this system would be a great fit for. And this one, I think it stands out. If you're a Monty Python fan, if you like that style of humor, if you like humor in your tabletop RPG games, this is going to be a good fit for you. It's a very fiction first system with kind of the system going kind of putting great depth there, kind of really emphasizing kind of describing your actions, describing the tensions behind your actions, really letting that fiction work first, even giving the game master tools like intercourse the dice for really good RP and really kind of good buy into the fiction. So it's definitely one for those who like the narrative style systems. The mechanics are pretty light and easy to pick up. This is what I think will be a great convention game because it's funny. It's one that you can play with people you don't know super well, and hopefully have people not try harder to make it weird. It's one that you can just really go in and have a blast with it. So this is definitely one I recommend for people that like humorous games, like fiction first, and then don't like mechanics to get too much in the way of their fun on that side. With that said, let's dive into some of our roses. Uh, one of the first and kind of aligning with that is I feel like they did a great job of capturing that Monty Python feel between the mechanics, and we'll highlight some of those in a minute. The artwork, the writing style within the book, just everything just kind of screams Monty Python to me, and I think they just did a really good job of conveying that. 'Cause it's always one of the hard things when you do kind of a game based off an existing property like this, and especially an existing property outside of tabletop RPGs. And I think they did a great job of kind of aligning that with the Monty Python feel and giving both the players and the game masters kind of the tools to kind of live out of Monty Python story, especially the Holy Grail if you enjoyed that movie. Along with that too, because I know one of the things that was probably my big concern going into this, I know could be for other game masters as well, especially if you wanted to run this at a convention or run this people you may not know as well. One of the things I liked the system did, and Brian even emphasized during our session zero with him, is that it encourages players not to go off the deep end trying to be funny. It actually tells players to play their people like they're serious about what they're trying to do. And that between some of the wackier mechanics of the system itself, or the head of light entertainment's persona, there's all of these different things that'll kind of run into it and help make the comedy, make that Monty Python feel happen without people having to go off the deep end and being tryhards about it, which would become obnoxious. So I appreciated it being in the book. I appreciated Brian re-emphasizing that. And for game masters that may be worried about that, definitely something the book kind of helped define on that side, and especially something I would put in your session zero too. So big roast to them kind of realizing that potential roadblock or kind of pitfall there and really kind of building the system to hopefully eliminate that for most tables. That said, let's dive into some of the mechanic pieces. My favorite thing, and I'm glad that one of our players had bad dice luck on this side, were the bestruments. The bestruments are where you get a lot of that Monty Python wackiness and get some of that humor coming through. And bestruments, for those who haven't watched our mechanics video, basically these occur a couple different ways. If you get nat one on a luck check, if you get three demerits, I think there's a couple other ways those can pop up. Basically, what happens is you get to roll a d30 on the kind of light entertainment personas table, and just crazy things can happen. From finding out the studio audience watched you, the running gag man showing up, or running joke man, I think it was, to having to one up each other with how hard it was back in the day with the studio audience watching you. It's one of those things that just introduces some of that comedy, that wackiness, even with you playing your characters like a straight man too. So I really enjoyed that. That was fun to see. Also, along with this, if you guys have watched the channel, especially with the Savage World videos and some of the other systems that do it, I love exploding dice. It's just one of those things that I find fun. I don't think actually I didn't get to explode any during my run with it, but a couple of other players did too. It's just cool. I like how the system gets you when you kind of struth it, you get to run up your attribute to a higher level and get to roll with that new attribute. I think that's fun. I think that's just one of those things that in the system that are just pure fun. I know it can be hard to balance on the numbers end for some of the more mechanically adept systems, but for ones like this where it's just kind of just straight fun, I like that. And I liked how too, if you roll too high, you could get a demerit for taking it too seriously and making the group uncomfortable. I thought that was funny and fun to me. Uh, so with that, so definitely like the Stroot thing, the exploding dice, the instruments were a ton of fun. One of the things, this is both a rose and a bud for me. I liked how they had the head of light entertainment, which are the game masters in the system, take on a persona, and the persona has different things that they like, dislike. Kind of hand out merits or just demerits for. They each have unique instrument tables. It just kind of adds like a game within a game on that side. It gives the head of light entertainment, the game master, a character that they're always playing throughout the system, and gives the players like an out of game thing to figure out which one, what things this persona likes, what things they don't like. And I thought that was just a cool thing. And I think this is the only system I know of that does something like that, where you have the game master pick up with that persona and have that game within a game piece. And I thought that was really cool, unique, and fun. Uh, Also, along with this too, what kind of my last big rose on the side is there's a ton included in this book. This there's as I mentioned, there's 10 different adventures that you can run, ranging from kind of easy for new players, new head of light entertainments, all the way to more harder, difficult ones for expert gamers on the side, ones who are familiar with the system. Always like to shout out when a game puts in an adventure to the core rulebook. Okay, I think this is a really good way for even if you're not planning on running, like a lot of times I usually do my own thing for these adventures. It's great seeing what the creators did and kind of see what beats they try to hit, what the people that built the system think would be the best way to run this is. So having 10 of them in there is a great reference for game masters, especially if you do like to run adventures, the pre-made adventures with your crew. You'll have enough to at least keep you good for about a year, probably, depending on how often your table plays. Along with that too, outside of the adventures, they've got a cool bestiary in there too, and like a lot of the things you'd expect in there. They've got the Knights of Knee, they've got the brave Sir Robin, they've got a build for the Killer Rabbit from Monty Python, like all the cool kind of pieces you remember from Monty Python, especially like Life of Brian and Holy Grail. You should be able to find some bestiary stats for those within there. They had King Arthur in there as well too. So it was just very generous in the core rulebook with how much they gave on that. But also, they do a really good job too of giving you information for the different settings. A lot of the Monty Python skits, as well as their major movies, have taken place in. So for like things like the Spanish Inquisition, things with the Life of Brian, and all of that, they give you a lot of cool background that you could use as either as the game master or the player to just kind of really help flesh out those games and kind of tell some cool stories with them. So those are my major roses. Overall, I had a lot of fun with the system. Really big shout out to Brian for coming on, as well as helping us give away some cool stuff. Oh, and Keith, you won. Make sure to send me your address so we can get that stuff out to you. So really big shout out to Brian for doing all of that. But let's transition from our roses into our buds. I had one big red bud for this one. 'Cause I had to be a player for the system. It's definitely one that I want to run in the future sometime. Especially the big bud for it is I want to try out the head of light entertainment personas. I've never game mastered while playing a persona for the game master, and I think that'd be a blast. And reading through some of the personas that you can pick too, they've got a lot of cool things that can just make the game feel fun and unique each time. Even if you have the same adventure, I think having a different persona for the head of entertainment. It'll almost make it feel like it's played completely different. I'm looking forward to trying that out at the game master side, see how that feels. That's my biggest but for it. Is getting a chance to run it myself and getting a chance to mess with those personas. So transitioning from there into thorns, I don't have a ton of thorns for this system. One of the ones I'll start with, and this is what if you've watched the channel for a while, you know it's always one of mine when it comes up. I'm not the biggest fan of unique dice. Rolling the D30 was pretty fun though for this, but I always hate when you have to buy specialty dice to be able to play a game. Even though you can do this one, like I did for our game, I used a digital roller for it, but I do prefer more traditional dice. Typically, just to make it more accessible and easy to kind of pick up and play with dice that people already have. Very small thorn on this side. It's kind of more of a me thorn. I think I mentioned before on channels why I've never picked up the Star Wars Fantasy Flight one. I'll probably go back eventually when they do a reprinting and give it a shot. But at least back in the day, that's why I never picked it up. But that was a small thorn there. Another one, and this isn't really a thorn. This is just a little bit of a warning, I'll say, or not warning, or heads up, we'll say. Uh, is this system may not be for everyone. If you do prefer kind of more serious role play without fourth wall breaks, without kind of games within games, or the lack of humor, or prefer the lack of humor in your kind of more serious games, this isn't going to be a good fit for you. And this is they built it for a niche, and I appreciate them doing that because the game shouldn't be for everyone. I mean, if you're for everyone, you're pretty much for no one. So this is one of those things. If you do prefer more serious games, no fourth wall breaks, and kind of more linear play, this won't be a good one for you. I threw included the Thorn session, but I definitely don't think it's a true Thorn there. Um, one of the things too, and this one's kind of outside of this one what I would love to try. It could be a bud or a thorn. I'm not sure how system would play for like a longer campaign. I think it'd be great. It's perfect for one shots. I think it'd be really good for kind of a short 2 to 3 session campaign. But I'm not sure how it would play with like kind of a full like multi-long arc campaign with just kind of the wackiness and the craziness they can kind of build with it. But I don't think that's kind of the core design for the system, at least in my view for it. So a small thorn, but one I wanted to give a shout out for too, just in case somebody was thinking of like having their own long term Holy Grail style adventure. I'm not sure how it would play with that side. The cool thing is you do have your attributes changing, kind of doing roll from roll with kind of going up and down between beshrews and spamming, which I think would be pretty fun. But without there's not like a huge progression system in it too for the mechanic pieces. So it's just one of those ones that just may kind of go by the sphere table. But outside of that, the only other thing I would say, and this isn't a thorn, it kind of goes with the kind of the taste piece, is it does inquire, or it does require a little bit of, or more improvisation for both the game master and the players than some other systems do. So if you're players, especially when some of the instruments come up and like different red pieces, they'll have to kind of like lean in and kind of go along with it, and kind of yes and it. It may be a little bit more than some players are expecting or used to on that side. So, as a game master, if you're wanting to pick this up, just kind of take a look for your players and kind of know, especially if you know what styles they favor, that may be a good thing to review as you're kind of getting this ready for your table. Overall, I enjoyed this one. Major shout outs to Brian and his off funeral for reaching out to us with this one. And also big shout outs to them too, because they're the full launch. This system is going kind of completely on sale, or launching March 12th. So I think that's this upcoming Wednesday. I have to look at my calendar. Yeah, this upcoming Wednesday. So about 4 days from now. So if you did like our actual play, which I'll throw a link down in the description, or like some of the mechanics you heard about during our other videos, go check this out. Go support Brian and Exalted Funeral. They did an amazing job with this system. So definitely go make sure to give them, if you like Monty Python, buy this for your crew and have some fun adventures with it. But overall, shout outs to this system. Our March game of the month, which was decided by a mix of our Patreon and YouTube crew, because it kept tying pretty for a while, but eventually Godbound by Kevin Crawford emerged as the winner. We're going to be covering that throughout March. First impressions probably coming out mid next week, so stay tuned for that. But overall, thank you all for hanging out. Shout out in the comments some of the things you liked about the Mighty Python system, or some questions you still have for it. And then we'll see you next month in March with Godbound. Till next time, everybody.